Good afternoon and welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Let me start with my article that I wrote of a Sunday morning actually, and I headlined it, "The End is Nigh." The United Nations General Assembly, UNGA, is a set-piece event that I always look forward to with a level of desire which always catches me a little off guard. UNGA is one of the few platforms where William S. Burroughs' edict, "Smash the control images, smash the control machine," applies. And just about everyone gets their Warholian moment. Andy Warhol, of course, said in the future everyone will be world famous for 15 minutes. Fortunately, this year we were able to skip Bibi Netanyahu's dog and pony show because he had other things to focus on, like trying to cobble together a government. And I'm sure the entire world breathed a collective sigh of relief. The 16-year-old environmental activist Greta Thunberg, who of course set the tone with her powerful intervention. "You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words. And yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering, people are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?" Of course, the "how dare you" resonated with me because it is, as Richard Kapuscinski wrote, it is authority that provokes revolution. President Bolsonaro pronounced, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free," and spoke of trails of death and destruction, ideologically infected human souls, and biologically perverted children, which I will just leave out there because his intervention, in fact, left me speechless. Boris Johnson spoke of smart cities which will pullulate with sensors all joined together by the Internet of Things, bollards communing invisibly with lampposts, and asked, "How do you plead with an algorithm?" President Rouhani skipped a handshake with President Trump and instead delivered his message direct via Fox News, which was a very neat touch. President Trump evidently found it a little overwhelming and had his security detail block a 16-year-old girl, and then did a J. Alfred Prufrock and like a patient etherized upon a table impression. Imran Khan delivered a speech which was as effective as the reverse swing with which he used to bamboozle the world's best batsman, and this time he bowled Prime Minister Modi all ends up. T.S. Eliot wrote another poem captioned "The Hollow Men," which starts, "Mr. Kurtz, he dead." Between the idea and the reality, between the motion and the act, falls the shadow. Now let's turn to the markets. Of course, Greta was referencing the feedback loop and the risks of dieback, where we enter a phase of cascading system collapse precisely because of the negative spillover effects of the hydrocarbon century. So let me turn to the Houthis, who 2 weekends ago struck deep inside the kingdom with a swarm of drones, and are now reporting that they attacked the Saudi front line and have captured thousands of enemy troops, including many officers and soldiers of the Saudi army, as well as hundreds of armored vehicles. Operation Victory from God is the largest military one since the brutal aggression began. The enemy suffered heavy losses, and wide swathes of territory were liberated in only a few days. Houthi spokesman Mohammed Abdul Salam tweeted, 3 Saudi brigades fell into the hands of Yemen's Houthi fighters in Najran, South Saudi Arabia. Saudi propaganda was effective in bringing the price of oil right back down after a 20% surge 2 weeks ago. But a reprice higher is coming, and this time it's not going to ebb. No number of Patriot missile batteries can protect the House of Saud and its Salvatori Mundi now. The enemy is no longer at the border, it's on the inside. Buy oil. The dollar has been girding its loins all year and is set to explode. Buy the dollar. Safe havens like gold and the new 21st century safe haven Bitcoin, however, are trading like everybody is long and are very crowded and look set to deteriorate. Bitcoin could in fact fall as far as $1,000, where it was in January 2017 when I recommended it. President Xi will have to let the renminbi go, so sell the renminbi. They will hold it steady this week because the CCP is celebrating 70 years of the People's Republic. But when the party is over, it will be an almighty hangover. And you can also sell sterling because the United Kingdom is crashing out of Europe, and the euro as well, where parity is calling. This was a chart from a couple of days back, Offshore Yuan reaction as the White House weighed limits on US portfolio flows into China and listing of Chinese companies in the US. But currently we're at 71350. I wrote about the Chinese renminbi 13th of August. I spoke about the feedback loop phenomenon, and I said the most important currency to watch right now is the renminbi. Boris Johnson, backed by speculators who have bet billions on hard Brexit, and there is only one outcome that works for them: a crash-out, no-deal Brexit that sends the currency tumbling and inflation soaring. This was an article in the Times by Philip Hammond. This is a sterling chart by FX Pip Titan. We're currently at 123.05. We popped back above 123. And on the 5th of August, I asked, the key question is this: can Boris Johnson self-eject Britain? I think he can. Can he be stopped? I don't think it looks like he can be. And I said this is a political calculation. Matthew Dancona tweeted yesterday, Klaxon elephant trap warning. If the S&P tables a vote of no confidence this week, as Johnson has allowed minority opposition parties to do, it will be doing exactly to the letter what he is hoping for. As Johnson hinted heavily to Andrew Marr, he could easily whip his own party tactically to vote against the government in such a vote. The bizarre coalition of Tory, DUP and SNP votes would get the total over 323, a simple majority. Here's another sterling chart from FX Pip Titan, and as we said, we're currently at 123.04. Michel Barnier says Johnson's behaviour has limited the chance of a Brexit deal. There is now concern that the government is seeking simply to ramp up a blame game, and with the chances of an agreement now seen as being as very low. My article was written on the 5th of August, And I asked then, as I watched the pound fall like a stone, I could not help wondering if this sterling moment is precisely like it was in 1992, a no-brainer. And that took me to Andrew Mellon, who said, liquidate labour, liquidate stocks, liquidate the farmers, it will purge the rottenness out of the system. And I'm not suggesting we're headed into Mellon doctrine territory. However, I think, like Schumpeter said, don't try to hasten the recovery, because artificial stimulus leaves part of the work of depressions undone. And I think that point remains an overarching one. 1st of April, I was saying there's certainly a fin de siècle, even apocalyptic mood afoot. The end is nigh and all that. But I said the conundrum for those who wish to bet on the end of the world is this, however. What would be the point? The world would have ended. And you're seeing these safe havens come off the boil a little of late. This is William Burroughs, Smash the Control Images, Smash the Control Machine. This is Andy Warhol. In the future, everyone will be world famous for 15 minutes.